from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Catholic. It's Kari Janisse here, and I'm here once again with my good friend Mike Walsh. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you, Kari. I feel like it's been a while.
I know. I was thinking the same thing as I said the opening. I'm like, it's been like a couple episodes. Like, I missed it.
It's because I
had a good run for a while.
You did. I think you were 4 straight. I don't know if they all made it on the air 4 straight, but they were 4 straight, and then I didn't see you for a month. And
welcome back.
Hey, it's good to see you again.
Yes.
And actually, it's been a sort of a nice run. We've had a lot of interesting conversations over the past couple of weeks. If you haven't had a chance yet, make sure you go back and check the podcast we did with our award-winning Talking Saints hosts.
I saw that. I have not listened to it yet, but I'm so happy for them. They're great.
They really are. Lori Power and Pete Sanchez. Pete Sanchez used to be the co-host of this show, and then he got pushed to the side by Kari and 2 other hosts. No, just kidding. He was
Pete, watch out. Let me in. No, Pete's so great.
Pete decided to focus more on his work as a writer for the Catholic Star Herald, but he's still doing a monthly show with Lori Power, all about the saints, and they've been recognized 2 years in a row for Best Diocesan Podcast. Last year, 2nd place. This year, 1st place. So we wanted to do an episode just about them. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, I hope you'll go back and listen to it, because I actually learned quite a few things out of it. I know you have strong devotions to saints, Kari, but I have to admit that in my 48 years as a Catholic, I've never developed a strong one. And I couldn't tell you why.
This is why we started to hang out, so I can evangelize to you about all these things.
I'm afraid which saint you'll throw my way if I start taking your cues.
See, yeah.
Well, we talked about this last week, but oh man, they just popped out of my head. I'm just thinking.
Mine or
no, mine.
Oh.
St. Francis de Sales, that's what I was trying to think of. St. Francis de Sales is always the obvious one for a journalist like me.
I thought you were like, what did you say to me the one time? A more Ignatian style, was it?
Well, I'm not so much Ignatian, but the idea that I went to school with Jesuits, I'm probably more Jesuit-oriented. I don't know, I wouldn't want to insult St. Ignatius by saying that I was necessarily Ignatian. But anyway, so it was a great conversation. But I did, you were originally going to be the possibility of co-hosting that episode with me. And one of the things I wanted to ask you was your devotions, which I know we've talked a couple times, but if you could list them, who are your chief saints? I have some big ones. So St. John Paul II, who my son is named after, that's his namesake. He has always been just dear and near to my heart. And then when me and my husband met, I kind of introduced him to him, and we later got to go, years down the road through our marriage, got to go to the canonization of his. That was our first time in Rome, so it was just so memorable for us. And he was just such a big heart for the youth and the young church, and that's where my devotion stirred. And he was my pope. Growing up, that was who I knew as pope. So he's number one, I would say, of course, the Blessed Mother, but she goes without saying, okay? And then St. John Paul II and St. Mother Teresa, they're kind of tied 1 and 2, they kind of flip-flop back and forth. I would say it just depends on what we're going for. So when it's service and, working with the poor, working with those in need, of course, we see Mother Teresa all over that, and I was also blessed to be at her canonization mass, so 2 for 2 at my 2 top saints, that kind of flip-flop. And then after that, kind of goes around to different ones. St. Joseph has been really pulling rank lately. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that has been pretty cool to see his work in my life. And then let's see. Well, some servant of God, Maria Speranza. She's on her way to sainthood. We hope, God willing, she'll be a saint one day. St. Anthony, he's a big one. A lot of Italians like him, though, so that's no surprise there. And then St. Bridget, actually, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit, because you're wearing St. Bridget's right there. So,
actually,
those are some of my faves.
In addition to that, I was also curious, who in the world, living or dead, do you think should be on that list of saints in the future, people who should be canonized?
Oh my God! I always joke there's going to be a Saint Father Maz of Williamstown one day, so he's my number one.
Perfectly reasonable. I hope.
There it is. He's my boss, but I've known him for years. I think he truly is, really embodies what a saint what we hear about the saints, especially those that were priests, how they just love their church and lay their life down for it. And to me, that has been the greatest witness in him. So
that's really sweet, actually. I like to hear that our pastors are people that we think should be canonized. That's really wonderful.
And it's funny because back when I was in college is when I met him, and I remember people saying that, and I just didn't right away. It took me a little while, I think, to kind of understand his spirituality and get to know it, and just it was different from what I had known from my, I guess, younger years of childhood and high school before college. Yeah. And people would say that, and I'm like, why is he so special? And now, I'm one of those people that just I'm a Father Mazur, just all about it.
Now my wife's a Father Mazur. I'm a Father Mazur. I've known him for half my life, probably.
Now, how about you? Turn the tables. Who's your
people I know currently?
Yeah.
None of you are going to make it. And it stops with whoever I don't know. I have such a low opinion of people that it's hard for me to think terrible. Positive. I know I am awful. I really don't know, to tell you the truth. I actually like being surprised when I hear people being named as blesseds, and because it's like, oh boy, that's really great to hear. We could use a few more saints. Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question.
We need more from the States, so we all got a lot of work to do here.
All right, there you go. Saint Kari Janisse.
Here is the charge. No, listen, I tell my youth all the time, we're called to be saints, right? And this is the life we have to live. And I want to be one. I said, I pick out my prayer card. I've picked out what my medal's going to look like.
Well, here's the problem.
I just got to get there. And that's the hard part.
Here's the transition that we're going to go from that into this.
All right.
We've talked a couple of times about some of your loves. Obviously, youth ministry is one of your primary loves, and your family, of course, is one of your primary loves. Certainly talking about the saints is one of your loves. We talked about it regularly. But the other thing that's one of your loves, and actually the first time I ever met you,
this is true,
was playing softball.
On the softball field.
And as someone who's played softball with you, I know for a fact you're not going to, I'm be surprised if you make it into heaven, let alone become saintly. You are
honestly,
a vicious
I always
competitor.
think this is the downfall of my life, and what brings me to confession a lot, because it's a total different side that comes out when you get competitive. It's really crazy, and definitely keeps me humble. That's for sure.
Well, our episode today is one we've been wanting to do for a while, as a matter of fact.
I'm so excited about this,
Yeah. So you and I got to meet because we were both part of the Diocesan Softball League. This was many years ago for me when I could still run. But my team would often play your team. My team would tend to get crushed by your team. I would develop a hatred to your team, and you in particular. And then we'd all be friendly afterwards, so that was nice.
It was good.
But no, the Diocesan Softball League for the Camden Diocese it's quite a treat.
Such a great part of our diocese.
Yeah.
And for so long.
Yeah, really. So tell us a little bit about it, because you've sort of been there from
I think I was one of the first teams. We're going to give a nod to John Kalitz, who is your kind of coworker, as you say, your slave. I don't know, whatever you want to call him.
I will never say it's true, but I won't actually say that. Yes, no. He's the director of digital media or the digital media manager for the Camden Diocese in the Office of Communications.
But before that, he was at Holy Family.
He was. And
he had this idea to start up a league and kind of contacted some of us. I think he was the coach at the time, or maybe just a strong player. And he had this idea to start and kind of got it started there with Holy Family.
He definitely wasn't a he wasn't because I remember playing with him, but he was definitely a character.
But then he switched over to Our Lady of Peace, and then we just cut him, and that was it. But anyway, he had this idea and kind of contacted a few of the teams. We got some T-shirts, played some games. It was fun. And then the next season seemed to kind of really roll into something that has now become what our league is, and it's really because of a lot of the people that are in this room with us today, because they really put a lot of hard work of volunteer hours to make it a really great, solid league with solid rules, umpires. I mean, gosh, when we go back and we see, we were making our own calls the first year, and just okay, we need umpires, and now we need these rules, and rules changed through the years, and we saw it really just unfold to really a great league that it is today, and it's been awesome.
And it may seem strange, I guess, to some folks that there'd be a spiritual element to, or that there'd be athleticism in our spirituality, but that's not bizarre at all, actually.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of church leagues out there. My husband always calls it church league. It's church league because he's played in other leagues, around, and he calls it the church league. But I think it's kind of a known thing through churches. But I really do think the way ours has developed, it's I don't want to say a step above, but there is a lot of. It's not just like. Look,
you're even competitive comparing our league as other leagues.
Oh, no. But I'm saying this because I think it has really gained so much. What's the word? Momentum. That the level of play is pretty it's a good level of play. It's
not. Yeah, I was a free agent this year, and I didn't get picked up by anybody.
But at the same time, it's about the faith, and that's where the church and the evangelization and the faith is all incorporated. I mean, we're really blessed to have some of the priests play through the years. It's just been really, really fun. So, I want to say who's here with us today, because these guys are all part of it.
That's awesome.
We'll start over here.
Yes, my name is Father Thanh Pham, originally from Christ the Redeemer Parish. Recently, a bishop has transferred me to Holy Family, so I decided to continue to finish out with the Christ the Redeemer Parish for this year. I'm the coach and the player for Christ the Redeemer Parish. So recently been transferred, so I have passed that on to another team player as the coach, Mike DiDonato.
I should also note that Father Pham was another player I hated playing against, because he's almost impossible to strike out, and forget trying to throw him out going to first. He's the fastest priest I've ever seen in my life.
After today's game, we had a game earlier today against him. I said, are you betting 1,000 this season? Because you don't get out.
No.
He's amazing.
Up next.
Hi, Phil Muldoon, Holy Family Parish. I had the pleasure of actually being with Holy Family as a team from the very start.
Now, were you the coach, or was John?
Actually, it was Kevin McNamee.
Oh,
Claire McNamee's husband.
Yeah.
But John was the mastermind.
Yep.
And then he took over for a couple of years, and then when he left to the diocese, he asked me to take over. And I've been coaching, I guess, the last 7 years now. And as I said, I was there from the beginning. Not saying it's any grand thing or whatever it is, but I've seen what the league started as and what it's become, and from a faith perspective, from a grassroots people perspective, it has exceeded what I ever thought it would be.
Agreed.
We had a game tonight, and played against St. Charles, and we played against them for 10 years now, and every single game, win, lose, draw, whatever it is. Same thing playing against you, Kari. You leave the game and there's not a single person there. I wouldn't say, hey, let's go out and get a drink or whatever the case may be, or let's sit down and talk like we are here. Because it's just as easy talking about our faith with everybody as we are talking about how bad I did.
Commiserating, whatever you may be doing. Yeah.
And batting third?
Hi, Shaun Walsh. I'm at St. Charles Borromeo Parish, the coach and player. And as with Phil and Kari, I've been with St. Charles since the beginning, since the first kind of pickup games back in 2010. And we were talking about it a week ago with a couple of guys on the team. I think there's still 9 players on our team that have been there from the very beginning. It's really a great thing. Yeah, we gather new people in the parish, through the years, but we don't seem to lose too many people. Like, we get people and they want to stick around, and they want to stick around for exactly what the league is. As Phil said, and as Father Pham and Kari have said, this is a league that it's a league that where the teams compete. Make no mistake about it. They play to win. They come out there and they hustle and they work hard and they want to win the game. But before the game, after the game, the fact that we gather and we pray and we hang out afterwards together as teams, even though we just competed for 7 innings hard, we hang out after and we represent as fellow Catholics. It's really a great thing and a blessing, and something I'm very proud to be a part of.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I'm curious, in the beginning, since everyone was basically here from the beginning, how did the teams form? Who reached out to another church and say, hey, you wanna play against us?
I remember John Kalitz contacting me. That's what I remember.
We really should have had Kalitz on the show.
So we should have, yeah.
What were we thinking about?
I mean, it would only been for the first 5 minutes, and then we just move on with the rest of the season. So, hey, sorry, John. But, no, he's such a good guy. I always think back, him getting that started and iRace. Those are the 2 things I remember. And about the same time frame it was when he was there at Holy Family. He did great work. So he reached out and emailed to me. This is my perspective, and then maybe you guys can share yours because you were early on. And I remember seeing the email, and I was in my first year here as youth and young adult ministry, and the young adults was at the time 18 to 25 years old, and you had to be 18 over to play. So I had a team right there within the young adults, and they were, young, vibrant, energized, ready to play guys and girls. Actually, it's a co-ed league. So I was ready to play. I played in high school and all growing up and all, and I was just like, let's do this, guys. And then we soon quickly like saw some of the girls that jumped out to play that didn't really have experience. Were like, yeah, this might not be the best. Like, you might not. So we had to kind of like sift through that a little bit in the beginning, because at first it just, I hate to say it, but maybe it was like kind of like something you would just go to like a picnic and just say, let's just play, you know, the pickup games, right? But then soon we saw like, you know, there was a competitive nature to it, and people that had real talent, and so we really started to see like, okay, who from our group can hold their own and wants to stick around, and some of the people just naturally phased themselves out when they saw what the game was like. But yeah, we started with our young adult group, and just like Shaun mentioned, we probably have about, I would say 5 or 6 still. I'd have to sift through the list, but there are some still OG people with us that are still in those same positions today playing with us, and have phased out from our young adult group that got moved up to 28 years old at a certain point, and they're still beyond that. They're now 29, 30 years old, because the league has been around for 10 years now. So it's been really, you know, just really fun to see. I don't know how, Phil, how do you remember it? Because John was in your parish, so.
Right. Well, I mean, it's essentially the way I found out about it was I was sitting in Sunday Mass, and Father Hughes was, gave up his homily and said, we have, John Kalitz is going to come up to speak. And he came up and started talking about playing softball. And my wife is poking me, saying, you should get out there. And I said, no.
That's fine.
So, no, what's going to hurt? So after John's talk, we saw it in the bulletin. I showed up at the first practice, and there were 50 people out there.
Wow.
And at first I'm like, there's no way in the world I'm going to make this team. I mean, at the same time, you had a deacon jury, you had a couple of the priests came out. And essentially, there were a bunch of people there, some of which I knew from seeing them in church and also interacting with them. And a lot of people I didn't. And I started coming to a couple practices after that. And John was always big on, we're not here to cut you. If 50 people show up, 50 people are going to play.
I remember that.
And that was important to me because, it would have stopped very quickly for me because I was there because I was a Catholic and I wanted to be able to interact more with the people of the same faith. But if I was going to go to a couple practices and then get cut, it wasn't going to do me any good in terms of doing that. And then what was I going to do? So I really, going to give credit a lot to John for setting that up, as part of the league inclusion, that if you want to come out and play, you'll come out and play. And I've kept that going. I think that's the one thing that John started that I really thought was important in terms of making sure not only people stayed on the team, they played the field, they batted, and I at this point, I'm very happy to say that before the virus hit, we had a roster of 24 players.
Right.
And, when I took over, one of my negatives was, well, we got to win. Holy Family hasn't won this championship yet. We've been around for 5 years. And, I've seen Our Lady of Peace win. I've seen St. Charles win and everything else. And it's fantastic. Let's go win and everything else. And it seemed to take a lot away from the players. And then I learned that it's not about that. Sure, it's nice, but the benefit of practice was we'd get together and we'd learn about each other. And we could talk about, Father Hughes' homily, Father John's homily, what was going on in our lives, try to help each other out. And during it all, we'd hit a few ground balls and get some batting practice in and everything else. But I think it's the practices that build up our team and the way that we looked at the league. And, I can honestly say, like I said in the beginning, when we play against St. Charles and Shaun's team, we play against you, Kari, play against you, Father. The sense is that this grows out of our faith. Where every once in a while you get a player to show up on a team and that's all they want to do. They want to hit the home runs. This isn't like my Sunday softball league and everything else. And sooner or later, they're not there anymore. And that's okay if that's not where they want to be. But we're here to include them as much as everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So, that's what's, I've learned and it's helped me grow. In my faith, as well as I'm not any better as a softball player. In fact, I'm going down as you used to. But there's never a time I'm not happy to go to the field and play a game.
How about you, Shaun? How were those early years at St. Charles?
Well, I remember my dad, Tom, was the coach, and I remember him calling me up and saying, "Hey, they're forming a softball team at St. Charles." I said, "To do what?" I said, "Who are we playing and where are we going?" He said, "Don't worry about it. Just show up at the field on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I'm going to drive around town to see if I can get us a field somewhere."
Yeah.
And we wound up playing all over the place, Bunker Hill School in Washington Township, I think, and I met people I hadn't met before. It's one of those things. If you always go to 4:30 Mass on Saturday and you meet somebody who only goes to 9 o'clock Mass on Sunday, you're like, "Hey, we go to the same parish, we go to the same church." There was a lot of that. I met people that I hadn't met before, or maybe I knew when I was younger and hadn't seen them in many years. And this core group came together, and my dad was a coach, and it was a lot of fun, and way more fun and way more about the fellowship than I had ever experienced before. I played, in other competitive leagues around South Jersey, and this wasn't that. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so, is it's not that. It's not a, load up for a tournament or load up for the end of the season. This is about having a team and being part of a faith and part of something bigger than that, and making sure that experience exists every game with all the teams. You fight some tendency sometimes to kind of slide back into forgetting what the league is about and forgetting the mission of the league, and you always look to reinforce that. And I think that's one of the great things with the coaches that we have in the league. Our first meeting before the season, we reset every year, making sure that what is the mission of this league, what are our values, and what are we about. And I think that reset every year helps us.
Absolutely,
we had a great meeting. Obviously it was all moot once COVID hit, and we were kind of isolated for a long period of time. But we had a great meeting, and I think the fact that we reinforced those values and reinforced our mission as a league was just an outstanding thing. But those early years were just a lot of that. We don't have an umpire, so we're going to use a map to call balls and strikes, and 10 balls for a walk, 12 balls for a walk. There was a lot of things. If you look back on it now, a lot of cringing, a lot of like, woof, boy. The base coaches called outs on the bases, and we got through. With all of that, we got through it with rarely any complaining and rarely any arguments out on the field, which again is a testament to the quality of people that were coaching and helping to stand this league up in the beginning. We were really blessed.
Yeah.
Now, Father Pham, you've had sort of an interesting role in the league. You've actually played on a number of teams, right? Because you've had the benefit of sort of moving around between the parishes a lot.
About to retire jersey number 3.
Yes. I actually, when I was ordained a priest in 2007, St. Rose of Lima Parish, and I found out that there's an ecumenical league. At first.
That's right.
So I said, okay, let's start a team. And so I talked to my pastor, Martin John Frey, let's start a team. I played baseball in high school, so I know sports. I can run the team and all that. And we did. So Catholic Field too, your team. Early on, a lot of people came out. Then eventually they said, we got to divide this team up. So everybody get to play as much as possible. So we got St. Rose 1 and St. Rose 2. So sometimes we compete each other.
Yeah.
It was like competing ourselves. It was kind of nice. And then the second parish, Incarnation Parish. And the third one is Christ the Redeemer Parish. Some of the main points that I would like to share is that it's really bring us together. I have to say that whenever I start a team, I had no idea how many people are going to come out. I'm new to the parish. I don't know them. They don't know me. Like, how are they going to come out? So I always pray God, somehow give me enough people so then we can start to get going. And we did. Every single parish that I started, very happy. Most of them, I would say, I've never seen them before.
Yeah.
And eventually the good thing is that they slowly get back to church too. And I still remember one couple, we're still friends from St. Rose. The first team that we were together. Remember, we were very competitive too. I'm very competitive. You know very well.
Father Pham
so we're
is
very
not competitive. Are you kidding me?
That's insane.
So we normally after every single game, almost the whole team, we gather after the game at St. Rose now, and then we gather at the team member's house. Then we chit chat, have a few beers, and then we have a post game show and type like, oh, should I slide that one? Yeah, we make that play. A lot of fun. We said, wow. Yeah. I sat there and said, wow. These people start to come together. They don't know each other that much, but because of softball, gather them, and then they start to able to have that fellowship. And then another couple I remember at the Incarnation Parish, how the wife now eventually they were not married, and they're living together, and the woman really wanted them to get married, and they came out for softball obviously. So that's when the woman talked to me privately. Said, "Father, can you get him, like somehow, like with the way that the church teaches? Because I really want to marry. She's Catholic, but he's not Catholic." And then eventually I talked to him privately, and then both of them too. I said, "For Catholic, it's a good thing to get married in the Catholic Church. You're not Catholic. If you would like to become a Catholic, let me know. There's a way for you to get that done too." And he did eventually. He joined the Catholic Church, and then I was the priest who officiate their wedding. Awesome. Very nice.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Some beautiful stories. These people I've never seen, but because of our softball, really get them together into our faith, evangelize in a sense.
Yeah, you're all long-term members of the league. Kari, in the beginning, was evangelization something they were really, there was a hope for that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was the whole basis. That was the crux that it was built upon. And to be able to evangelize and maybe even bring people into the faith that are not involved, like, we're always open to that. But really, even within your church, to, like Father mentioned, getting people together that wouldn't necessarily know each other, and Shaun mentioned this too. And then also just to share the faith. And I think, well, at least what I've seen in my team, because I mentioned earlier, we skewed a little younger, being from the young adult group. And we started to eventually branch out more to the parish as some of those young adults, moved away or, started to work jobs and didn't have time for it. But what we saw was some of those other young adults were bringing friends to our young adult group, evangelizing to them, and then sports was a way, like an outlet to get them to stay around. Yeah. So we not only had the softball team, but every Monday night after our meetings, we played basketball together. Then it eventually went Mondays and Thursday nights because we had another prayer group on Thursdays that people would come to. So sports were really a big draw for our young adult ministry to kind of build that ministry. And, we see it now even just... People were all cooped up, and it's like you mentioned, we're gonna have a softball league, and everyone came out because we were all looking for something to do. And I think sports really do offer that for the people that are involved in it and enjoy playing. It really is like they're all in, no matter what. And a lot of times they'll work their schedule around it or make it work to be able to be there because they just enjoy it that much. And God really provided that way with evangelization for our young adult ministry, using the sports as like a little hook to kind of get them in. Also, we had, as Father mentioned, you had someone come into the faith. We had one of our young adults get baptized through that, and another one make her confirmation. So that's pretty cool how that kind of helped kind of foster the faith within them. And the young man that got baptized, communion confirmation, all at the through the RCIT program that I offer, all at the Easter Vigil. So he was a teenager at the time, kind of like RCIA, but on a teenage level. He then went on to be an assistant youth minister with me for a little while, which was really neat to see him really develop into his own. So he still plays with us today, and since moved on to another job position, but it's just really neat to see the different things. And it just started with him loving sports. He really loved basketball. He played basketball with us on Mondays. Hey, do you want to play softball with us this year? Sure. And from the young adult group. And so seeing those things happen, I know they've happened at every parish in the league, how God has used the bait of maybe softball, but to bring so much more depth into that person's life and their faith. Just incredible to see that happen. I don't know if you guys have any other stories to share in that way of evangelization and just seeing God work.
We've been blessed both bringing people on our team who were friends of ours, have been parishioners but not active, and all of a sudden, based on this, have become active. And they have a cousin who came out and just played with us a couple times, and now all of a sudden that cousin is active in their parish where they are. And also people who were active, but I could talk to them, hey, by the way, do you feel like being a lector, and I can kind of fill out my lector schedule with some of the folks that are on our team, and we're blessed with with some folks who, besides myself obviously, who are just leaders in our parish. Bill Brown on the finance committee, and other folks who are active parishioners and have been leaders within the parish, and are also on the team, and they are good role models for those who come on, younger people on the team. Who come out and see not only these people playing, but they're also active in their parish. We're very blessed with that.
It's incredible. So cool to see God working in that way on the field. And evangelization is, it's interesting how it works, because it doesn't always have to be that it can happen very naturally. And I think even just the fact that we pray at the beginning and end of every game, maybe somebody that is not as in depth in their faith, just having that prayer be a part of it is an invitation in itself to, hey, maybe I should pray a little more to God. Maybe.
There's some truth to that. We our team is now defunct. We've been defunct for the last couple of years. Although my son is very upset about that. He's like, Dad, how come you don't play
Start it back
anymore?
up, Mike.
Hey,
Start it back up.
Well, we have a new pastor, so hopefully that'll happen soon. But the prayerfulness was something I always kind of enjoyed, because you'd have the hardcore people like yourself, Kari, who we can't start a meeting ever without saying a prayer. But then we'd have other guys that were really kind of uncomfortable about it. But as the season progressed, they would, you would sort of trick them into saying the prayer, and then eventually they would volunteer to say the prayer, usually to settle everyone down, so we could start playing. But that was always beautiful for me. I'll never forget that. We had a guy on our team by the name of Phil, as a matter of fact. Phil Hesser. He's been on the podcast before. He did our Marvel podcast a few years ago. And he's going to come back on again this summer, do another special episode of a Marvel episode. But
that's not with me, is it?
Well, it can be if you want.
I'm not a Marvel person, so you don't want me co-hosting that one.
But I was actually looking back through my Facebook page today, and just how many people I'm still friends with from my softball league, even though the softball league, or for us, our softball team doesn't exist any longer.
Right.
And I love it. I mean, because these kinds of opportunities really do offer a lot of fellowship, which in the daily life of a parish sometimes is a little difficult. You mentioned it kind of earlier. It's hard to get together. It's hard to find a common reason to come together other than Sunday Mass. And, and particularly right now where there's not a lot going on in any of the parishes, to have an opportunity to play a sport where it's naturally socially distant, not a lot of people on top of each other on a softball diamond, and still getting a chance to see each other again and spending time with each other again. And like Shaun was saying, where you'll see somebody who goes to the 8:30 a.m. Mass instead of your 4:30 p.m. I love that, actually. That's a great point. Because we do get we get siloed. And this is an opportunity to not be siloed. Now, I'm curious, for any of your teams, will you get fans that will come out?
Yeah, I think it has built momentum, but I'm going to say Father Fam's team has the most fans I've ever seen.
Absolutely. The entire town comes out.
Wait, it's an away game. It's 91 degrees at 6 o'clock, and in comes about 20 fans for Christ the Redeemer from Echo, 20 minutes away. And I'm like, this is our home parish. I put it on our parish Facebook. I did a live stream earlier today and mentioned it, and we have 5 fans. So I'm like, Christ the Redeemer wins for fans. It's pretty amazing to see your support. But we have some of the parents of the players, some of the girlfriends and others of the players. My husband was there tonight for this first game of the season, watching. He usually plays, but he came with my son. So you have that generally at my game. Occasionally a few parishioners, but some of the other parishes, I think, totally outdo us in this. I think early on we had fans, and then everyone's kind of over it. 10 years later, from Our Lady of Peace. That's just me speaking.
I would try to bring my family as fans, but most of them play on my team. So
I was going to say, yours is literally a team.
My brother, my 2 sons, and my 1 daughter play.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm very blessed in that too.
Yeah.
I think for my parish, probably because I'm abnormal. Being a priest, not many priests play softball, play sports on any team. I would say it's or their parish. So I'm a bit different, abnormal in that sense. So people are kind of curious. Okay, fathers, he's look all serious, reverend at church in mass, But like when I see, I heard that he's like going like crazy, like running around in the field, like talking throughout the whole game and all that, making joke and all that. I had some fans eventually, some parishioner eventually say, I want to be there, I want to witness that.
You forgot one aspect. Playing first base and making a catch in left field, you forgot about that too. Like Father Pham is at every position somehow.
So I think that's the part. So I try to tell the people and my team too, that the faith is not just like in church only, at mass only, in church, in the church building. It's out there, it's outside, up there, the church's doors. That's how you really practice and manifest your faith, your relationship with God and with each other. So that's the key point. So in this case, it's the softball team. I once in a while try to remind my teams that guys and girls, try your best. I want you to play as hard as possible. Try your best. And at the same time, have that fellowship, okay? Have that fellowship, enjoy each other's fellowship, and have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun too. Have fun. I reminded them again today. I said, all right, keep that in mind now. Good game. Try your best. Again, I would like to see that. Give it all. That's what I want. I want you to give it all on the field, and at the same time, have that fellowship. Know who we are. To build that fellowship and have fun. That's something I'm trying to say. Have fun too. Yeah. So not all serious. Yes, winning is very important. It's joyful, and at the same time, our league, it's not all about winning in that sense.
Yeah. And I have to give the league a lot of credit for something else too. You talked, Kari, gave the impression early on that it was kind of a, youth group, advanced youth group, young adult kind of thing. But the truth of the matter is, I remember playing with guys in their 60s and 70s who, by the way, could still rope it as well. I mean, they're hitting balls all over the place.
For sure.
Shaun, your team was never what I would refer to as on the younger side. You guys,
besides his kids.
Besides your kids. Yeah. But, I mean, your team was always really good.
Yeah, we have, I'd say we have two players, and there's two players 70 plus, and one player 60 plus, and a couple of us in our 50s. But we run the entire spectrum of age from 18 to 70 plus.
Wow.
Couple new hips, couple new knees in there, and we're still hanging in there. But listen, they love to play. I mean,
and they're good.
They want to be out there. They want to be out there and be part of it. And we have practice for, like Phil said what I would echo. We have practice a lot. And you would say, wow, are you practicing, really looking to, hone your skills, this and that. We come out, we take some infield, we do a lot of BP so everybody can tease everybody else when it's their turn up at bat. And then we hang out after. And I get 13, 14 people to come out for practice in the summer when it's hot. And that's the reason why. They want to just be out there together. Yeah. And we just hang out. The other night we practiced and we just hung along the fence at our field. Probably sat there a half an hour, 40 minutes, just sitting, hanging out and talking. Yeah. Didn't go anywhere, but and it was in the shade, and that was great. But that was typical, and and I had two of the 70 plus guys out there practicing, which was insane. I said, you guys just need to chill out and just come to the games. But no, they want to be a part of it. Very good stuff.
Just to give credit to Shaun too. The first time I went to play against St. Charles, he's out there. I can't remember if he's playing short or third, but he's out there and he's just taking BP. And then the game starts, and I'm watching him out there, and I'm going, why is Cal Ripken playing on the left side of St. Charles? You want to talk about a guy who has real game. Yeah, it's an excellent game. Yes. And that left side of the field was way too good, by the way. But it is. But the thing was, so he's great, right? And everyone out there was great. But his father, God bless him, recently passed. Somewhat recently passed. The nicest human being on the face of the earth. The most supportive human being I've ever met in my entire life. It's rare that you hit a home run against that team, or against any team, except I hit one. I'm rounding the bases.
You hit a home run?
Well, most of the time I hit a home run and turned it into a triple. Okay. But this was one time I actually made it home. And his father was so sweet. He was like, good job, Mike, I'm so proud of you. And as I'm passing home, I said, it's nice. And we were losing by 13 runs, but it was still sweet of him to do it.
That's great.
So I always have such great memories of your father, Shaun.
Tom is such a good guy.
Unbelievable. I tell the story all the time, and nobody believes me, but when my dad was a coach for me when I was younger, and he was all about everybody has fun, everybody plays every position, nice and easy. My dad, as the softball coach for St. Charles, was not that guy. You got to run that out. You got to run that out. And, I guarantee if the game was close and you rounded third, he would have been already yelling at whoever either pitched it or didn't catch the ball out in the outfield. My father was very tough on us as a softball coach for St. Charles, which is hilarious, and we all laugh about it now.
Such a great memory.
He was something else, but he was obviously the reason why there's a team at St. Charles, and the reason why I get to talk about it right now is because of my dad and because of the impact he had on everybody who's out there who still wants to come out and play because of him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I never forget, we didn't have enough softballs, and I was going to order them. He said, "No, I have a bunch. I'll put them on my porch. Come by, pick them up. I got them for you." And he had them right there on his porch and picked them up. And I thought, I never forgot that. I just thought, you know what, thanks. That was really, that was genuinely just so kind, just to help us out. Just have enough softballs.
I'm curious, Phil, do you have any memories from your time? Like any like truly great memories of your time, either playing either your team or yourself, that you're just kind of look back on every now and go, yeah, that was a moment. I remember that.
Well, I mean, it's sort of broken into sections is the best way to describe it. When we first started, and of course Kari knows, it almost was just Holy Family versus Our Lady of Peace.
Yeah, it felt like that for a while.
And, there were old beaten down field that you had, and we'd go out there and play, and you'd swear you look at the left field fence, and I said, I could hit that. But then you get out there playing, and you couldn't hit that, and, it was a learning experience in terms of being with people of the same mindset. Namely, obviously, I played baseball growing up. I played all kinds of sports growing up. And every single one was competitive. Competitive not only for the team, but also competitive what position you played. Mm-hmm. So you're always worried about, oh, gee, I come up to bat, I got to do this, or I'm not going to be batting next game, or whatever the case may be. But whether it was, playing the early games against Kari's team, playing games against St. Charles now, playing with Father Pham, I mean, I'm usually the catcher. He comes up, the back and forth between him and I, just me trying to get him off his game. Those are the things I remember. I'd come up to bat and there was no pressure because Our Lady of Peace didn't put pressure on us. Mm-hmm. St. Charles doesn't put pressure on us. I don't believe for a minute they want me to succeed when I go up there. But I truly believe that they want me to hit the ball and, have fun.
Yeah.
Whether their guy makes a great catch or whether I hit a dribbler and a third baseman makes a great throw, whatever the case may be, I truly believe that about every single one of these teams that we have. And that's what I want all our players to experience. One of the things that changed about the way Holy Family recruits, for lack of a better term, is for the longest time we would put a message in a bulletin and see you get a couple people come out or whatever the case may be, but really wouldn't get that big influx like you did right at the very beginning. And I was like, well, what are we doing wrong? And one day I was in dropping off some paperwork, and then the secretary for the parish says, well, how are you doing getting the team together? I said, it's not so good. I'm only getting a couple people off the bulletin and stuff. She goes, well, that's your problem. I said, you not want the people who show up to Mass to play softball. You want the people who aren't showing up to Mass to play softball. So between John Kalitz talking in the back of my head about including everybody and her realization to me, I started contacting my players and said, do you have a son or daughter? Do you have a next door neighbor? Whoever it is, bring them out. I would start sending the emails. Say, look, if you can't come to practice, ask your next door neighbor, ask your cousin or whatever it is. Right now, I'd say our team we have fathers, daughters. My nephew plays for the team. And that has grown, and I think I said this to Shaun earlier in the year, where we actually feel like a family now.
Yeah.
And we all have the same faith because we now have included people who, those are members of our parish, at least at that point in time, have included people who are of the same mindset, want to do the same thing. And now I see some of those people. in church, who I'd never seen before and only seen him playing third base.
Yeah.
And that, probably more so than any hit I've ever gotten, any call I've gotten right in terms of switching players in the outfield, whatever it is, has made it all worth it to me. You know, there were times that my wife will say, don't you want to stop coaching? You've been doing it for 7 years now, whatever the case may be. And she does not like the fact that come February, I start putting together softballs. I start talking with Shaun about let's get the meeting, putting stuff together. But she's out there every single game. And, you know, she's seen not only the change in me, but the change in what the softball team and the league has become. So I think that's the most important thing, is the fact that each of these teams has stayed strong in their faith, and the fact that each of these teams survive shows that faith-based anything works.
That's a great way of putting it.
Right.
So maybe Shaun said this earlier, that, and I think you might have alluded to it as well, Kari, you know, about the rules. That it took you a long time to come up with the rules. So for people who might be listening, who might want to start up a team at their parish, or maybe diocese that might be listening who wants to create something like this similarly, what are the rules for, you know, generally the rules for your softball league that might be different than another league?
Yeah. Well, of course, we begin every game with a prayer, and with the prayer, I think it's so important to include that component. And actually, going back, we actually have we didn't this year because of all the lockdowns and everything, but we usually have an opening mass as well. So I think just keeping that faith aspect right in there from the start is a great place for you to, you know, begin. Then after that, as far as like little rules and things, well, we've changed a lot through the years. I would say we've adapted a lot from other leagues, and Shaun and Phil, you've done a great job with staying up on like what other leagues are doing and where can we adapt it into our own league to make it work. Some of the rules were adapted for Coed, so we have like a female cone out in the outfield so that our outfielders can't pass that cone when a female is at bat until contact is made, and that has helped to allow and foster some of the females to be able to not only just get on base, and I'm speaking for myself here as well, but really to allow them to gain confidence when they get up at bat, because what happened is the whole outfield would collapse and you had like two infields and you just feel defeated without even the ball being pitched. But when we made that rule, it really helped across the board. I think all the female players, there's a couple other specific rules for female players that we've incorporated with trying not to turn double plays. But I think we also take a lot of safety measures, which is a really big thing with the league and how it's developed. So, of course, there's a safety base at first, and we also now have a safety base at home. So there's no, it's always a force at home. There's no sliding into home, and there's no tag outs at home, and that has avoided a lot of collisions, a lot of ankles being rolled and people being just colliding, and that has helped a lot in the league, I think. And it makes it, you know, it makes it fun actually while they're coming in. We're all, every team does this. They yell outside bag, because if you take the wrong home plate, and then you're just, you lost a run for your team and an out. So it's not good. But
I remember that.
It happens. It's happened. And we, you know, it's funny because our team, there's a lot of camaraderie in our team, because again, it's a lot of the young adult ministry even still today of the current members, some ones that just turned 18, some of them, and they like to bust chops. So, you know, we'll be at our meeting that Monday night following a game. Can you believe he got out at home? Like, you're just not gonna, oh man, why did that happen? You know, so it has fostered a lot of camaraderie that way. But we really have adapted a lot of rules. Phil and Shaun, you guys were really the heart behind this. I don't know, there's a lot of other ones I probably missed along the way. A lot of it was incremental. You know, this year, what were the things that were kind of stumbling blocks during the season the previous year? So you'd say, all right, what did we have some, you know, kind of a lot of discussion during the season about certain things. So it was, you know, the safety base at home was one where we said, you know, we had a couple collisions at home plate and, you know, somebody got hurt, and we're trying to avoid that. So what do you do? So there's, you know, other leagues that adopted the safety base at home. So I said, you know, that's a great idea. Let's do that. You know, we want to make sure that we keep the co-ed aspect. So we say we must have a female player out
in the field every inning, and you must have one in the first 10 spots in the lineup every inning. That's a rule, and that was important because you wanted to make sure you kept the co-ed aspect of the league, which was very important for this league. I think as a Catholic league, I think it should be a co-ed league, and I think you want to make sure that you keep the rules in there so that you're keeping female players engaged and you're keeping female players active during the game. And not only that, because you set that up, what follows is you bring female players with talent into the league, and we're playing teams, and you see that on every team. You see the quality of female talent is outstanding, which raises the overall level of talent in the league, and it lends that sense of, wow, we're really doing the right thing here. And there were a couple other rules along the way. Obviously, we talked and joked about umpires. It was great when you had the base coaches making the calls, but I think to make the game just move along and have that just impartiality to it, you bring the umpires in and you have the umpires there to officiate, and it just, like I said, it moves the game along and makes it a lot easier to coach and a lot easier to coach and have fun.
Those ties at first, it was always hard to make that call. I hated coaching first or third. I was like, I don't even know what to say. I don't know. It's hard.
Well, you guaranteed the makeup call the following inning. Right. Any close play is going to be safe depending on what you did there.
Yeah. It just it's really progressed over the years, and we look back and we've come a long way. And every year we host this coaches meeting, and we rehash the year, we talk about it. People will come in with even some notes ready to go, and some of the rules go into effect. Others we say, well, we discuss it, and maybe that's not so necessary, and we take a step back from it. But that's what's nice, was we can even all sit around and say, how do we want to develop this league? How do we want to keep it going forward in the right direction and with the right momentum and the right focus? And that has always been true over these 10 years to really see it progress.
And I want to give a shout out quickly to Doug Dugan, St. Rose, who's been in the league for a long time.
Yes.
Great team there. Our Lady of Hope, Gammy Cologne, coaching over
Kevin
there.
Too, right? Kevin helps out.
Yep, Kevin Little. They've also been in the league for a long period of time, almost since the beginning. And, they're a big part of the fact that we have all these teams that are, that get it and that are part of this process. And also Infant Jesus Parish, the COVID really affected them, I think, more than the other teams. But the fact that they came out last year, played a whole season as a brand new team, and did very well. We're looking forward to seeing them back next year.
Yeah. And this year was different. Yeah, we normally have a season that runs beginning of April for practices and all, and about May, right after Mother's Day or right before Mother's Day, we start our games. Runs all the way through July and kind of wraps up by the end of July with playoffs and championship. Of course, this year was cut completely short, and we had to make adjustments, so we decided to make it just a year of just fun and relaxing. We felt that was necessary given the times and the stress everyone was under, and different people coming at it from different perspectives. But I think I'm just thankful that we're being out there playing, and I think that has been our greatest focus these last few games of July that we've had together, and it really put together a nice feel coming off of a lockdown, quarantine, no masses, to be able to be back to church and be back to the ball field has been a great feeling to kind of come off of, we're still in the pandemic, but come off of the difficult moment of the pandemic has been really helpful for all of us.
I have to admit, I guess I played 3 or 4 years before my team shut down. But I always loved it. I miss it all the time. But I will admit to you that the thing I miss most about it is because I'd always bring my camera. Mm-hmm. And because I'm a professional sports photographer, my goal was to make everybody look like a superstar, and I'd like to say that I succeeded. I also took photos where everyone looked terrible too, but I deleted those. But actually, come to think of it, one of my favorite photos of all time is a picture of Shaun's dad coaching from the sideline. I'll always love that photograph. Do you still have a Facebook page?
Yeah, we do.
Does it get updated very often?
No.
I used to be an administrator of it, but
I'm one of the administrators of it. I did for the beginning of the season, tagged all the teams and posted the thing. But so in previous years, we'd have this email chain and it go out every week of standings, who won. But because of this year being kind of just for fun, we aren't keeping track of standings or anything. So there's not much to update this year, but last year I did it for playoffs and stuff.
Well, Kari, you and I do talk semi-occasionally or all the time, depending on your perspective, let me know, and I'll come out and take pictures of some of these games coming up. I'll make everybody look fantastic.
There's only 1 week left, but I'll let you know.
Well, that means less work I have to do, even better.
Do you want to say something, Sean?
No.
Okay.
I know Mike's pictures are better than my iPhone, so
yeah. I took a few on my iPhone too, but I was like, it's just Our Lady Peace. I don't want to just keep posting those, so I was
always a tricky part. I always had to make sure I went to other games to make sure that I got everybody. So, which is fine. But guys, thank you very much for coming out tonight. I continue with the great work of the league. I look forward to seeing a full season next year when it starts up, and who knows, maybe I'll even try to get St. Bridget's back in the league. But
that would be great.
We're
always welcoming any parishes that want to join. And I think I'll speak for all the coaches to say we do our best to make sure that we bring the new parishes along. Kind of allow them to find their way, get their feet on the ground a little bit. Help them out with logistics, help them out with fields and umpires and any other things that we can do, because it's always tough the first season or two to form a new team. Father Pham can attest to that.
Yes.
All right.
God bless. Have a good one, guys.